Constantly on the lookout for new family board games to add to your board game collection? I know I am. I've actually curated a really cool collection of games that I know that are simple to teach, easy to get to the table, and have a great cool mechanism that I know that even all of my non-gaming family members will want to play and get excited about. In this video, I'm going to give you a 2-for-1 deal. Yes, 2 reviews for the price of 1 click, and that is to show you 2 cool games that might be something that you want to check out. And the games are Lacuna and Noobs in Space. My name's Danny. I'm an avid modern board gamer from Australia who loves sharing my passion for board gaming with you, my friends, and my family. Come and join me for this journey. Danny, guess what? I've got a brand new idea for a board game. It's called Flowers in Space. Oh, that sounds interesting. I'd totally play that. How does it work? Well, I haven't really got that far yet, but I did find these 2 games that have flowers and space in it though. Have you ever wandered down to a pond in the middle of the night? If your answer was yes, well clearly you haven't been watching enough horror movies lately because no one goes out anymore. In Lacuna, players will be collecting flowers from the local waterhole at night, disrupting the local ecosystem as they do so. It's a competitive game that looks like it's jumped right out of a Pixar film. What you'll do throughout the game is that you'll tip the flowers into this gorgeously woven silk cloth and sprinkle the flowers from this container like Parmesan cheese on a bowl of fresh pasta. You'll take it in turns to place these gold trophy-like pawns out onto the main game area, placing them in the direct, unblocked line of sight between 2 identical flowers, which you'll be able to snap up and put into your flower collection straight away. Once all of your 6 pawns are placed, the next phase begins as you now decide which flower is closest to which pawn left on the pond. It's a tight race of geometry as you go back to school and use this 15cm ruler to see who is the closest. At the end of the game, you'll compare who has the most number of flowers out of the 7 flower species on the pond. If you have the greatest colour majorities, you win. Oh, the game Lacuna really reminds me of one of those really cool kaleidoscopes they used to have a kid. You'd be able to look through one end, there'd be mirrors inside, and there'd be all these really cool transparent colored beads on the end, and you point it up to the light and you see a spectral of patterns and rotational symmetry that, you know, really enthralled me and kept me busy for hours trying to work out exactly how it all worked. Lacuna has that same sort of draw, except it appears on the tabletop. The idea that you're spreading these flowers out onto a pond, and then you're placing your little pawns to be able to nab 2 that are in an unbroken line. I really like the strategy that Lacuna does provide for you, because each and every game the spatial positioning of the flowers is going to be different, and I think there are 3 really cool levels to this game that on first glance you might really gloss over, and it's not until about your 3rd or 4th play that you actually discover, whoa, there are some really cool strategies you really need to pay attention to. The first strategy is trying to get at least 4 of each of the 7 flower types. And because there's only 7 of each of the flower types in number, by having 4, you know you've secured a majority. So wherever you place your pawn and whichever, I guess, species of flower that you pick up in the first half of the game, it's going to be really crucial, because if your opponent is just going for the same species and they nab 4 in the first 2 turns, they've already secured at least 1 majority for one of the species. So thinking and keeping a tactful eye on where all the species are in terms of how they're spread out and what your opponent picks up is a really crucial thing. The second thing is the closeness of your pawn to the other clusters of flowers that are left behind. Because in the second phase, you don't want to put your pawn somewhere where your opponent has more readily accessible space to those flowers that you really need. So often when I play this game, I've placed my pawn next to my opponent or in a more strategic position to my opponent so that I can steal some of those flowers in the second phase off them by simply having my pawn in the right spot. The other thing that's really important is to diversify the sort of species that you're taking. Yes, you want to kind of get dominance in 1 or 2 species early on, but you want to try and even the field a little bit more and try and also dabble in by getting other flowers from the other colors so that you don't find yourself at the end of the first phase with, you know, no flowers of a particular color. I just really love the spatial puzzle that this offers. It's so quick to get to the table, it looks beautiful, and you know, when I played this with the hubby, he immediately said, can we play it again? And can we play it again? And we just played like multiple games in a row. It was just a great after dinner game because it literally takes 10 minutes to play. And basically when you pack it up, I just wrap everything up in the cloth and then tip it all back into this tube. And it also looks pretty good on the shelf too. I guess the downside of Lacuna is that it can feel a little bit samey after, you know, 10 plays. I do like the area kind of majority mechanism of getting the different flower types to secure the win. I think it's very innovative and really smart. But for what it does, it's really great. And my mum came over the other day and I had Lacuna set up, didn't even explain that it was a game. She's like, what is this fabric? What are these beautiful pieces? And immediately she just wanted to touch the little gold and silver metal pieces. She was really inquisitive about what I had set up. And then when I explained the game, she was like, oh, can I try? For Lacuna, I'm giving this game an 8. Space is often called the final frontier. We have only explored a small fraction of its immense vastness. So when Noobs in Space came along, a game about training a group of astronauts to resolve problems in space, I instantly thought, wow, I'd be the first to be sucked out into the vacuum of emptiness. Noobs in Space is a game which spans over 8 missions. Each mission has a series of tasks for your group to collectively achieve. It might be pushing a few red buttons, and we know what happens when we press red buttons. We could be fixing a space dunny or even reading a map. You'd think it's all simple, but add a few random gamers to the mix and it ends up being a cocktail of laughter, conversation, and people describing what a space plunger looks like. Imagine 4 people trying to complete a 1,000 piece puzzle, yet you can only see your random assortment of pieces in your hand, but not the full picture. That's how this game goes. Work out what to do and finish it in time, otherwise you'll be lost in space forever, playing this very game. So with the title of a game like Noobs in Space, I kind of read it backwards and think, maybe it's Boons in Space. Because basically the theme of this is you're kind of astronauts in training and you're playing this simulation where the simulation is throwing you all these tasks, and as a group you're gonna kind of have to collectively solve the tasks as quickly as possible. I really like games that give you part of the puzzle. The idea that you might have a quarter of the puzzle or a third of the puzzle, and by working together, by communicating with each other, you can collectively solve, I guess, the missions. And I like how this game comes with a little book that kind of shows you how to complete each puzzle. It even has a little bit of a story to add a little bit of flavor to the game. Really, really nice touch, but essentially it's just a deck of cards. And I think what I really enjoyed about this game was that in the first 3 or 4 missions, I really enjoyed the novelty and the freshness of the different types of puzzles that appeared. In particular, the one where you had to do like a call and response. I felt that was quite a really, really cool puzzle to do because that kind of involved everyone who had the cards. And I also like the puzzles which involve laying things out in a particular order or fitting things together and describing things to try and satisfy a condition. This game, I guess, if you water it down and took away the theme, is really getting your group to follow a set of instructions. Whether you kind of classify that as a puzzle or not, I guess it's probably less so on the puzzly side and more so on the sequencing side. So it's really more about getting the right player to play the right card first and in a particular order. I think this game, if you just kind of don't overanalyze everything to the most minute detail, you're going to have a lot of fun. This game definitely works better when there's a timer added to the mix. I know the game kind of has like a count up timer where it's like if you solved it in under 10 minutes or 12 or 16 minutes, you get a certain star score, but I actually think it works better if you do the countdown timer because it adds that kind of level of pressure to the game that it needs. It does reduce the because what can actually happen in this game is you can kind of spend, 2 or 3 minutes talking and describing every single card in so much detail that it kind of takes you out of the game itself. So this game is best played at a fast rate, really great for testing communication skills. So if you've got people in your family that, really want to work on communication and work on feeling confident about sharing information, stuff like this is a perfect family game to get everyone involved. And I think it's a great teaching game for for teamwork, team building skills. I can totally see, you know, maybe if you're at like a team building day, this is a great game to get out and race against other people with the same copy of the game. And I think that's where I think the game kind of falls a little bit flat is, I guess the puzzles get recycled across the missions. So there's some puzzles with levers and puzzles where you have to kind of work out which diary entry is alluding to which set of instructions. I guess after the 4th mission, I kind of wanted to see brand new puzzles that really didn't reuse some of the cards, and I know they introduced 1 or 2 new puzzles each and every mission, but I would like to have seen it done differently. I also think this game probably could have a cool competitive mode where 2 separate teams are competing against each other to try and complete the same mission first. That would be really fun to see, and I think make this game feel a lot more competitive. So for Noobs in Space, I'm giving it a 7. So what did you think about these 2 games? Which of these 2 games do you think is better and a greater fit for your board game collection? What are your thoughts on games like Noobs in Space, where once you've played it, you can pass it on to someone else and let them enjoy it? Or what about games like Lacuna, where it's got a very cool table presence and one that might entice non-gamers to sit at the table and spend some quality time with you? And I can't complain about that one. Now, if you really enjoyed what you saw in this video, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. If you want to see some exclusive board game content, please head over to my Patreon page, as well as being able to suggest the future direction of this channel. And other than that, if you want to see more Board Game Sanctuary videos, head to my main YouTube page. There's over 300 videos on there already for you to check out. Thanks once again for joining me for another video, and I hope to see you in the near future. This is Danny signing out. I hope your next board game is an amazing one. See you soon.